In 1918, soon after the new state's founding, Latvia was thrust into a war for independence. The war would last for 2 years, until a peace treaty with Soviet Russia in late 1920. For the provisional government, there was no time to hold elections or write a constitution. But the need for elections was already expressed in these early turmoil-filled days. The official announcement for the elections would only come in July of 1919, and the elections were held almost a year later, in 1920, on the 17th and 18th of April. These were the first elections in an independent Latvia. They would establish the composition of the Constitutional Assembly. The main purpose of the assembly was to write the constitution, satversme. All citizens who were at least 21 years old could vote. The assembly operated for 2 years until the first parliament convened. Unlike the following parliaments, it had 150 seats and later 152, instead of the 100. In areas subject to a border dispute with Estonia, elections were held later, adding 2 seats to the assembly. 16 parties made it into the assembly. Only 9 parties had more than 5 seats, 3 parties had more than 10, and 3 parties had only 1 seat. The clear dominant forces in the elections were the Latvian Social Democratic Workers Party, LSDSP, and the Latvian Farmers Union, LZAS. While the Social Democratic Party had the most seats, the assembly was dominated by right-wing parties. This meant that the Farmers Union was in charge of the coalition governments of the assembly. The assembly had not only left-wing and right-wing parties, but also minority parties and individual members of parliament representing voting groups, which made the formation of coalitions and coming to agreements more difficult. Not only was the assembly preoccupied with writing the constitution, it also implemented the agrarian reform that redistributed land from the largest landowners, which were mostly the Baltic German nobility, and establish how elections, the government, and the country at large would operate until the coup in 1934. The first part of the constitution, concerning how the country would be governed, was implemented on the 15th of February in 1922, while the second part, about the rights and obligations of citizens, was only implemented after regaining independence in 1998.